There is no space drug more addictive than that bachelor life sometimes here on Bajor. Please, a vile visit to Bajor. My name is Joseph.
Coming to you for what I think will be the last time. I'm your co-host, Peter.
The last time? Really?
I'm supposed to be a roofer, and now that the Bajor is back in place, I no longer permitted to podcast.
Oh, okay. No, I understand. Your Bajoran will not permit you to broadcast your voice on the internet. I get it.
No. It's going to be hard, too, because...
It's okay. I'll find a replacement. Maybe an Australian. We've had them on before. My wife, you know?
The Australian... I think the way we work mechanically is wherever the hosts are from, you get zero participation from local residents of that country. So bringing an Australian in might completely destroy whatever listener base we have.
That's true. We really only have that country. Yeah.
I saw a YouTube video of two kangaroos fighting and like knocking all this stuff over on this guy's porch. Just like these human-sized rats just shoving each other all over the place. And I was like, to live in this place and not be allowed to have guns? What?
Not fair.
Very unfair.
What is unfair to me sometimes, Peter, is watching this show in standard definition and then realizing perhaps that it was better this way. I've been thinking a lot about this recently just because I've been very turned off by modern cinema, modern television. We talked about that recently.
I'm going to push back on that in a couple minutes here, but go ahead.
And I feel like sometimes a lot of the things I don't like about these modern shows, like when we talked about Spider Noir last week, or last time we recorded, is this we're shooting in high def, we're shooting in 4K, and the capture of such stark reality, such perfect, beyond perfect, almost too perfect quality of the cinematography lends to people that produce material to feel like they have to do things to try and mitigate the unreality of whatever it is being made. And something like science fiction, shooting it in standard def gives it this sort of quality that gives you more suspension of disbelief. Like, it never bothers me that Deep Space Nine is in standard def because it kind of holds up better that way. And like the practical stuff looks better. The separation of it being kind of another world feels more like that's what it is because it doesn't look completely correct, right? It feels a little fuzzy, but in like a warm way, in a way that's not off-putting.
It's charming, and it blurs the edges around budget constraints.
Yeah. It's like I'm watching a bunch of actors who are basically in space pajamas trying to act like this is a very serious premise and this is a real thing. And if it was all in stark high definition, it would probably be a lot harder for me to accept that. But because it's in standard def, I'm not having trouble with it at all. Now, Enterprise was in high definition, but it was in like 720p, right? Like I think like there was a jump at some point where we went from looks good, but still kind of not like reality to 4K. There are exceptions like Accession where you did high def filmmaking in a way that was very artistic and very interesting, great cinematography. Not saying it can't be done. But I'm really appreciating more and more. Like, watching this in standard def is giving me something. I don't know how you feel about that.
So like Voyager, right? Voyager had a lot more money on their set.
Correct.
The USS Voyager looked like a lot more money was put into it than the Deep Space Nine station. And certainly Voyager started cutting corners, and there were a lot of bad story-specific sets. You know, they were using the caves nonstop. There was a lot of outdoor Southern California water plant stuff.
You bring up a really excellent point there, and I'm going to come back around to about set usage, but go ahead.
We mentioned it heavily in season 1 of Deep Space Nine, that it felt like there was a CRT fuzzy glow, that it was charming, that I liked it. I know there's some upscaled Deep Space Nine product out there, which has gotten me in trouble with my internet provider trying to watch those. But I think we called it like a British glow. Like it
Yeah,
felt like I was watching old Max Headroom or just
Doctor Who or whatever. Yeah,
something. And there is a charm to it. I do appreciate it. Uh, I'm watching this stuff on a 75-inch TV. So, I mean, the imperfections are really blown out. You see the big black bars on the side of the screen, but it doesn't matter, man. The stuff is so captivating and good that, and again, going back to everything you've said on audio, the simple flat mixing of this and them not trying to get fancy with Dolby or Atmos
yeah.
and this Netflix curse where I could not understand anything in season 1 of The Witcher and had to watch with subtitles on. The audio is so simple and almost like it was built for a one speaker little bullshit TV,
Which it was.
and I love it. I want more. I want to be able to. That's what it comes down to. I want to be able to focus on the story. And we just watched Paradise Lost. The Defiant fought the Lakota. None of it was on screen. It didn't need to be on screen.
Or it was briefly. It was like on screen for a second, so you knew it happened, but it wasn't the focus, and it didn't need to be.
In Star Trek, sometimes it's better to imagine it for yourself instead of being shown it poorly. And I think that's part of what we're talking about here is I don't need everything crisp and clear. I need the general ideas conveyed to me and my mind can fill in the rest. And it is an enjoyable process.
Agreed. It was when we talked about Spider Noir and why I didn't like it that just had me ruminating on this ever since. And like watching Deep Space Nine since then, it's like, okay, I think I get what I don't like. And it's weird to say maybe Hollywood needs to take a step back and realize hypertech that's making everything expensive is not necessarily what you need to be doing if you want to be making arresting content.
I think that's us going out of our lane, though. And I think that just like the rest of the world and technology, I think the means to make things simply has just faded away. And what you're saying is making things expensive, high def, and this and that. Like that is the cost. Digital is the cost effective solution. Tape was expensive.
True. Okay.
And the idea of trying to go back and film something on tape, I think, is absolutely unrealistic unless you're someone like Quentin Tarantino that has ridiculously deep pockets and such an artistic compulsion to do your fetish, your film fetish, that's simply never going to happen.
I know you had a parallel take because I mentioned Obsession. You mentioned wanting to talk about it.
We saw Obsession.
What'd you like?
It was great. It absolutely, I might be not absolutely stunned by something in the moment, but as I sit there, the more something lives in my head and I think about it, that's where the true value starts to express itself. Like sometimes you watch things and right off the bat, you're like, that was fucking dope. That was amazing. I know that's going to be one of the all-time best. And sometimes, it's like 3, 4, 5 days later, I'm still thinking about this stuff. And it's like, okay, that, this, but, I watched Backrooms with my daughter. I just went in and we watched Obsession with my wife. That was something she wanted to. I didn't know anything about Obsession going in. I was delighted by the level of supernatural, the dark humor to it. It was everything we talked about in that last conversation about that there is good media out there. It's sad that it's not the media we want it to be. But jumping all the way back to Voyager or whenever we had that initial discussion, usually the creator needs to be involved or the creator's direct disciples in the case of like later TNG. Because when things change hands too many times and there's too many fresh, they don't understand. And that's what happened to Star Trek. That's what happened to Star Wars. It was too far removed, but there's great media out there where the creator has both hands on the steering wheel. Often they're an underdog. Like this Obsession costs, $750,000 to make.
Correct.
And they're pushing almost to $400 million or something crazy.
Correct. Kane Parsons got paid $15 million for the movie after he shot it, and then so the studio's making the rest of it. But yeah, clearly a huge financial success.
Well, Backrooms Obsession was built on a budget of nothing either. And like to sit there and look at what sets they used. I mean, that is a movie completely built on a interesting script and that woman's ability to just who needs CGI or even practical effects when you have someone that can hit a range of emotional crazy distraught that she does, and it's just
Yeah, I knew her from Superman and Lois because she plays one of the Clark's kids' love interests. She's fine in that. Like, that's a secretly good show, by the way. Superman and Lois.
I tried watching. It wasn't clicking for me.
I get it. Like, I like the slow sort of relationship nature of it. Like, Superman's more interesting as a character to me when it's not all about his superpowers, because that's
Sure.
He's overpowered. So like him dealing with his family life and hiding his identity is like actually like exactly the content I wanted. But same, like that movie, I'm more impressed by just the raw cinematography of it. Like everyone had a vision and they delivered on it. And I think it says a lot that it was a bunch of Zoomers, right? Like millennials, our time is sort of past a little bit already. It's hard to say. Like we're in our 40s, right? Like we're already in middle age. The younger part, the cohort of our generation is 10 years behind us. They're in their mid 30s. Like, we're not the young bucks anymore in entertainment as a generation. It's the Zoomers now. And if there's going to be a revolution in entertainment, if things are going to get out of the abyss it's in, it's going to be through them. And I think we've seen several examples of independent filmmakers coming to the table with a vision, succeeding financially and critically with that vision. I really look forward to it being something other than horror, because like, cool, I know you love horror. I can like horror. I want to see what's next from these kinds of creatives. Can you do something else? And I don't need them to go into I don't need them to go into a franchise. I'm ready for new shit. Like, absolutely.
Do you think that I like horror? There's a lot of horror I don't like, and there's a gore level that I've become uncomfortable with.
Obsession and Backrooms really are like my kind of horror movies. So yeah, I'm there.
But horror in terms of Gen Z is interesting because that's where it's really thriving, and that's where some of the other YouTube, there was one Iron Lung or something.
Yeah, Markiplier.
Do you think that is why this new Star Trek game, the VR one, is a survival horror VR experience?
The one that's about to come out, apparently, this year is like a Ro Laren Silent Hill game, essentially.
I think what you're talking about is execs somewhere saying horror works, start trying to adapt the old IPs to it. Another conversation for us to have on another podcast or maybe a YouTube content or something.
And you can see parallels back into the 70s, like when the last Hollywood sort of revolution occurred, what happened. A lot of the research started with horror, like Halloween and that sort of thing. So, this is cyclical.
Paramount's pushing video games real hard right now. They've got their own studio working on it again. And
very excited about that. Like, I don't know about this Ro Laren thing in particular, but at least they're trying something, right? Like they're doing something cool. Like,
and I think there's going to be a lot more Star Trek. I think that is side content I want to do is, does Skydance identify the way back into good graces with the Star Trek greater fan community? Is their game plan maybe, hey, we'll put out a couple TV shows or whatever, but like, let's work the video game angle where we can give people mainstream nerd.
And you can drop into wherever you want to go in the continuity with it, which is what I think, like, let's tell a Ro Laren TNG era story where it's a Silent Hill. Mm-hmm. Okay. And you can just do it. You can go pay.
What's it cost to develop? What's it cost to develop a video game versus a movie or a TV series? And I'm going to say it's probably lower. I think Cross the Unknown showed them you can get away with a lot with a small budget, and it can resonate very well.
Yeah.
Again, I'd love to discuss that at some other time. I want to talk real quick now as we push 15 minutes in. Widow's Bay, amazing. Widow's Bay flies in the face of all of the, recent TV sucks that we've talked about. Apple TV is on fire. Severance was fucking amazing. Widow's Bay, I think I loved even more. Speaking of horror, I don't really want to talk too much about it other than to tell people, turn off this podcast right now. Go watch a couple episodes of it. It is phenomenal. It was 10 episodes, like 30 to 45 minutes. It is a blend of absurdist comedy with easy access horror in a combination I've never felt before. Like the horror is there, but it's not jump scare horror. Like one of the things I've identified in the show is they do a great job telegraphing when the scare is going to happen. So it's there, it's impactful, but it's not a jump scare. It's not playing with your emotions. And just the lead character, what's his name? Michael Reese?
Matthew Reese, the guy from... I've met him personally. I've met Matthew Reese. Very briefly, I used to be an Uber driver, and he and his wife, Carrie Russell, who's also a famous actress, Felicity most prominently, but I love them both in The Americans, where they play a married couple. I won't reveal why they were in Cincinnati, but they were there. I got called to be their Uber driver. Carrie Russell's very recognizable. She even noticed I noticed who she was as she was walking up, and she goes, "Yes, I am Carrie Russell." And I'm like, "Okay, well, thanks for settling that in my mind." And she's like, "Can you hold on a second?" Like, got other people that are coming, so like piled into my fucking Nissan, 4 people, including 2 actors. And I pull out, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm just gonna ask right now, is it okay if I talk to you 2 about The Americans? Because I love that show." And Matthew Reese was like, "Yes, absolutely. It's on FX. No one sees it. Please." So for the 20 minutes I had in my car, I got to talk to them. They were very happy to talk to me about the show, and it was really cool. And then they tipped me a lot. And it was awesome. My 10 out of 10.
That is
love those 2.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what, whatever warm feelings you have for that guy, you watch this fucking show and it's going to go up times 10. This guy's comedic delivery is exquisite. I think if he wasn't in it, I could have gone for, oh, am I blanking on his name? Michael Bluth from Arrested Development, Jason Bateman.
Oh, okay. The main character, sure.
Same kind of comedic delivery, but Reese just knocks it out of the fucking park. Stephen Root's in it. The lady playing.
You got me. I'm going to watch it.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. We're pushing in too deep already here. Watch a couple. Let's talk about on the back end.
Hey, well, let's talk about on the front end now. The episode of Deep Space Nine we watched. What did we watch, Peter?
Season 4, episode 17. Is it Accession?
Ascension.
Is that Ascension?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I can't read. First aired February 24th, 1996. Directed by Les Landau. Written, so there's no teleplay here. This is Jane Espenson.
Jane Espenson.
Usually when we push 20 minutes, it's because I don't want to talk about an episode because I hated it. That is not the case here.
Same.
I thought this was a excellent episode of Deep Space Nine. I feel like this is exactly the kind of content you can pop in while we have the Dominion War and Starfleet conspiracies and whatever popping up. This is a great blend of deep character story arc plot mixed with fun, lighthearted slice of life. Not even lighthearted. I mean, that
it even has B plot continuity.
Yeah.
I think that's the best way to put it. I love this episode. I've always loved this episode. It is a perfect example of the secret Deep Space Nine banger of just like shit that's just good and fills out the season, that just connects a lot of dots and pays off investing in the show in a way that almost feels like it's ahead of its time. And we've said that before. This episode, the production of it to me is fascinating because of the writer, Jane Espenson. This is the only episode of Star Trek she ever wrote, but she's written a lot. She's a very prolific TV writer. She wrote and produced a shit ton of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. She was a total Joss Whedon person, involved in basically all of his TV projects. Also, huge writer for Ron Moore on Battlestar Galactica, including the very movie we reviewed, Razor. Also did like a whole season of Torchwood, did the episode of Game of Thrones where Viserys gets crowned with gold. He's executive producer on Foundation, which is actually also on Apple TV. So very, very prolific TV writer. This was her only go at Trek. And to think that she wrote this and it connects to so much that's happened in the rest of the show perfectly. She just kind of like came in with the script, wrote the whole thing, dropped it off. Was like, all right, I'm done. See ya. And it's kind of crazy, like the level of talent that she was able to bring to the table to do something.
Did you
like
read
this.
the wiki for this?
I did.
is she just a Deep Space Nine fan and knew this shit, or was she just like, give me
She's a science
info?
fiction TV writer. She's probably a fan of the show. It doesn't say specifically. She said it was a great experience working. She got into it because of Ron Moore, who, not shocking that she ends up writing for him on Battlestar Galactica later. Probably worked with him to connect all the dots.
Yeah, was
I'm
Ron Moore
sure.
like, hey, here's a Sisko guy. Here's some interesting stuff I think needs fleshed out. Here's the bullet points.
Also, we're bringing Keiko back into the story. Work it out.
Which, seeing Keiko was almost jarring on screen, but also just settled back into this wonderful place in my heart. And again, there's all of this Keiko hate out there. And I think that she just steps right back in stride. And it's like, I'm a great wife. There is nothing to not like about me. And anybody would be lucky to be married to me.
I mean, I wanted to talk about that because, I don't know how close Colm Meaney and Rosalind Chow were personally. I have to imagine that if you're working off and on with somebody on a regular basis for what at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years as your on-screen wife for your regular TV gig, you probably know them pretty well. You probably have a good pattern as it relates to how it is you're going to portray your relationship. Not saying that they're spending a shit ton of time together figuring it out, but it's just natural, right? Like you spend too much time working on this to not have it down. And this episode is just like perfect for paying off that level of investment that they have as actors, right? Everything, how they interact with each other, how natural it feels. Like they're able to do like good physical intimacy with each other that feels right for what they are as a couple without it feeling like too cold or too hot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just a pretty normal like B story relationship thing of married couple, we're having another kid, you were a bachelor for a year, you're just being an attendant father and husband, but at the same time, like I gotta let you, have some fun on your off time with your homie. Like it very like this could be anything in TV. This could be a sitcom plot, right? Like it does not have to be a Deep Space Nine plot. And it feels just great and lived in and like you said, comfy, right? Like because those two are really good together. Not that they're like the hottest couple ever or they have amazing chemistry, like unparalleled chemistry or whatever. It's they've got this thing down. They know what the fuck they're playing with each other, off each other, and they're very comfortable with it at this point. It's investment. And that like goes for the rest of the show, right? This is essentially a direct follow-on from the season 3 episode where they were fucking around with the communications array Destiny with the Cardassians, because that was the first time we've had to like address the Sisko really having to deal with being the emissary in a way that made him uncomfortable. And this is a direct follow-on of him like still not comfortable with it, and then the plot happens, right? All of this works for us because of how we're consuming the show. Because all of this plot feels so immediate and like at the same time like baked into what's going on around it. So for the same reason like Miles and Keiko work, because it's been integrated into everything that's going on, and we've spent a lot of time to get it right. This whole thing with Sisko and the emissary, being the emissary and like having to slowly evolve to his acceptance of that role and what that means for him, is also the same thing where it's like we've taken the time to make this feel like it's part of the universe.
I want to talk more about that. We've talked about how Deep Space Nine was stymied by the inaccessible nature at times. You couldn't guarantee when it was going to be on. You could VCR stuff if you were a real diehard, so you had absolute access to when the stuff would air. All that would change wildly once DVDs started coming out and people could binge watch. And then,
I mean, this was the very first show I ever binge watched.
You get later on access to TiVo, but all that technology came after Deep Space Nine was already off. And we as we sit there and say, why is Deep Space Nine such a great TV show? That is the primary technology that we are attributing to it is that you and I have been able to watch this one a week guaranteed because of video on demand technology that we have access to, or DVDs or local copies, or whatever you want to call it. There is another component that we don't really give credit to, and that is that you and I are intentionally over discussing this stuff.
True.
You and I are coming together for my own sake. I mean, I would love to I would love to be able to watch a TV show like this to this detail, whether or not we had an audience. You know,
Yeah.
and that's the real thrust of this podcast. I want to watch Voyager, and I want to watch Deep Space and this other Star Trek I was never able to catch up with. You and I are doing this stuff under a microscope. There is also a large community behind us of at least 20 people.
At least. You could fill a room with them. Not a large one, but you could fill them.
You know, we've got the Facebook group, we've got the Discord. There are these discussions going, and it's not just randos saying fuck ass stuff that
it's like Jay Miner finding that Ron Moore clip of him literally having the same take we did about Bashir's House of Horrors that I didn't even know existed, right?
I got to go back and watch it. But back in the day, back in 1996, maybe AOL was around. I think, AOL, which you're paying by the minute to use that. So the internet was there. There was an ability to connect with people and have larger conversations, but it was still limited. And when you talk about a slice of the pie being a Star Trek fan, of the pie, cut out that pie slice. Now, people that are watching Deep Space Nine actively, which again, you're going to lose a lot of that boomer TNG crowd because this is not whatever. And now people who are online and are able to find the online discussion rooms. So you and I are living in this world of like, man, look at this, look at that, look at this, and making these connections. The average TV consumer absolutely did not have the chance to have conversations with people on the internet the way that you and I do, let alone video conference calls. Like, there's nobody within Columbus that I would be having this level of conversation with.
Yeah.
I'm lucky you're, an hour south of me. We could get together and talk. Maybe people were calling each other to talk about Star Trek like this. I don't know. But by and large, it wasn't. Meanwhile, the writer's room, they're living in not the future, but they're living where you and I are right now. Everybody in that Star Trek writer's room is living and breathing this stuff weekly. They're saying, hey, remember this thing?
To talk about it every week. Yeah.
This TV show was being built in an environment that could not exist for the consumer until right now.
Yeah.
Ahead of its time. And the potential was there. Yeah, this ties back to, was it called Dragon's Tail or something? Dragon's Teeth?
The Vaudoir?
No, I'm sorry. Whatever the one where they put the subspace relay up was.
Destiny.
Was it Destiny?
Yeah.
Same deal. Okay, we're going to make these direct throwbacks. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago for you and I, and it wasn't that long ago for the writers doing this stuff, but yeah, it's all there. The conversations can be vivid, but you have to have access to the people to have the conversations for this stuff to really flourish and breathe. And again, that's what this thing is doing here perfectly. So to start us off, we kind of do a little check-in. It is
Keiko's coming back. The bachelor year is over.
So she has been on a botany assignment.
Correct, on Bajor, and she's been visiting on a limited basis, but mostly she and Molly have been on Bajor.
And we said that Bajor is a 2-hour runabout trip away.
It's some hours by sublight.
Warp's not an option. It's out of transporter range, obviously. It's been a hell of a year, man. Like, talk about the right time for her to get the fuck off the station. Dominion threat. All the other nonsense. But she's coming back, and we get a view of Miles O'Brien's quarters. And I want to say, like, him working on projects in the house is what was keeping him out of the bars. And we said, like, that's not fair for her to attack him on. Like, he's trying to
stay like a good boy, keep staying away from temptation.
So they play this thing for laughs, and it is just shit everywhere. This thing looks like hoarder storage closet central. And Bashir is just shocked. And he's like, dude, you have done nothing to get ready for her. And I almost feel bad putting all this stuff away because, like, our bromance, like, this is a testament to our bromance somehow. Just all of your crap. Clearly, I've been hanging out in here.
Yeah.
And
they have finally, like, really actually gotten these two to feel like friends, you know? And it's been a nice, lengthy, you know, in sort of process for them. And they've had their ups and downs, right? It wasn't but earlier this season that they had a very serious professional dispute with each other. Like, yet their friendship has endured.
yeah, that is an interesting lens to view at the Dominion episode where they crash and Julian might have solved the addiction to Ketracel White had it not been for O'Brien
going full, full activator mode, full jungle warrior mode,
full mutiny, disobey direct orders, and destroying all of his efforts, and getting a lot of people killed, maybe good people. We also see that their holodeck LARP adventures are still going strong, to the detriment of the needs of their personal life. That's a very true thing that happens in LARP.
Oh yeah.
You get obsessed, and it is very easy to let your real life suffer as a result of it.
So, we after we see that, we see Miles greet his daughter and wife at the airlock, of course. Like, Molly's cute and adorable and lays a nice big kiss on Keiko. Very happy to see his wife. And that is when we are learned that the two of them had decided that they wanted to have a second kid, and were deciding to start to try to do so. But, Miles apparently packs a punch because it didn't take very long. Keiko is already pregnant, to Miles' chagrin of, like, kind of hoping for a lot more trying before it took on. I was hoping it was going to take a while of regular work. But alas.
I want to talk about this. This is a very real thing. They're playing it for laughs here, and it'll flesh out a little bit later on. Two things are in play. One is Miles having to give up the bachelor, I'm only worried about myself lifestyle and get back into family mode. And the second is my child is now old enough that it is no longer an infant, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel that our life can start returning to normalcy. I felt this very heavily because I was doing all sorts of fun stuff with my wife. We had the baby. It was a beautiful experience. But, like, the diapers started tapering out. The idea of, like, hey, we can leave the baby with, like, grandma for a couple, not baby, but, we can leave our child with grandma and not feel terrible about it. The idea of, like, we can start going on dates or just taking the kid out and doing, we can start going to amusement parks. We can start doing whatever, it's not this restrictive lifestyle. And then the next pregnancy comes and it's like, you just slap this reset button on the clock and just roll it back, and you're back into, mixed up schedules because the baby's awake at night and sleeping during the day, and the diapers and the formula and the breast pumping. And I don't want to say it's crushing, but man, you're like, fuck, we were so close to being, like, back into normalcy. So to see O'Brien, like, I'm excited to have my wife back and we can reconnect. That's wonderful. I'm excited to have my family. I'm giving up my bachelor life, but hey, I'm going to have all this wonderful family experience and sex. And then, like, hey, by the way, I'm pregnant again, and we are going to go right back into the hardest parts. That's a real roller coaster for this guy. And they do it jokingly, but boy, I sure felt for Miles on that one.
It's this plot for him is very, very grounded, right? Like, this is some shit that could have been in any kind of television show.
Is this an entry into Miles Must Suffer?
No, don't worry. There's a better example of that coming up this season. I don't like
Children are wonderful. Here. Children are wonderful.
And honestly, Keiko really comes through for him. Like,
big time.
So no, he doesn't suffer.
Although he's just kind of surprising him, like, not only have I been pregnant, but I've been pregnant long enough, we know that it's going to be a boy, and you are finding out as I'm walking back. Like that's a little.
Yeah, couldn't have sent a subspace message, huh? Okay.
Um,
So meanwhile, we set up the A plot when a warp speed wood ship kind of just like gets shot out of the local space butthole. Like the wormhole's like, here, have it, and they're like, what the fuck? And beam aboard the only person on it, and it is a gentleman by the name of Acorum Lan, who I think was played quite well by Richard Liberenti, is the actor's name that did this. He is only in this episode of Star Trek. He has since passed away. Uh, this is apparently a role they wanted David Warner for, who we are very well acquainted with.
David Warner.
Chancellor Gorkon from Star Trek 6. Also, the skeevy human ambassador from Star Trek 5.
Interesting.
Yeah, but apparently he was not available. Anyway, this guy is great. And he identifies himself as this person who's apparently a famous poet in the past of Bajor. He is from 200 years ago. And he calls himself the emissary and relates an experience that we know is authentic with the prophets, where he has the same sort of dreamy experience with them. They heal him and they send him through time specifically to now. And he believes wholeheartedly that he is the emissary of the prophets. As a consequence, he's a very faithful, old school Bajoran religious person. And we get what I think is one of the secret, like, cool parts of this episode is we get so much more sort of flavor for what is Bajor before Cardassia happened to them. And that is a culture that was very confident in itself and also had a strict caste system. I'm a sucker for all of the religious stuff, as we have well established through all of Deep Space Nine and Voyager and everything else. I'm that guy, right? I'm Christian. I love religion as an avenue by which to do storytelling, particularly journeys of faith. It's probably why I love Deep Space Nine, because Sisko's literally doing that. And I love that the Bajorans, while we lament their physical like appearance being very human-like and that kind of takes away from their alien nature,
Joe,
their
I'm going to stop
culture
you
and
right there.
background is where we get more of that.
How dare you draw any comparisons to humanity? Did you not see as they were clapping, it was the back of one hand into the palm of the other?
Yes, clearly
humans would
alien.
never clap like that. These are wildly aliens.
But where we can draw that separation, though, is in their culture and in their religion. And like the idea that it used to have this strict caste-like system adds another layer. Like they have, it's very, the way they've built this is very syncretic. Like there's Catholic-like religious hierarchy amongst the clergy, right? Like there's different ranks. There's literally a pope. Their religious practices tend to the sort of old spirituality that you might see in Orthodox Judaism. And now we are entering into bringing like Eastern religious traditions, like a caste system, right? Like it's like a Hindu thing. And I just feel like this is like telling me a lot about Bajor and what they used to be like. They were very spiritual people. This was their lives. And Cardassia did break them in a way of it. And remember, like, the sorts of things that Gul Dukat was saying to Kira in Return to Grace about how, like, the Cardassians oppressing the Bajorans actually made them stronger. Like, there's truth to that. Like, that gets kind of conveyed in this episode where, yeah, they actually were broken of being a holy, introspective, spiritual people obsessed with, like their caste systems and everything else that they had organized themselves around, and built themselves into something more capable and stronger through the necessity of opposing the Cardassians. Like, Gul Dukat isn't wrong. He's not correct for the right reasons, but he's not wrong either. Very cool.
And
I'm
all
sorry.
this it's all right. And all of this is set up immediately contrasting Ben Sisko being roped into giving some blessings as the emissary for a newlywed couple, which shows that he is fulfilling the duties. I don't want to say obligations, but he's fulfilling the duties of and expectations of this role, but he's not feeling good about it.
Yeah.
Some excellent recap here, specifically on how does Starfleet, I don't know if they've really said it on screen explicitly up to this point, but how does Starfleet feel about the commanding officer of a political mission, a highly charged political mission, which is get these fucking guys integrated, having this Jesus-like quality fall into his lap and, hey, we're trying to accomplish something, and now we have a very high conflict of interest and almost an abusive position handed to us.
Right. Unwanted.
Unwanted.
Not sought out, given. Forced.
So Starfleet isn't happy about him having it. He's not happy about being it. And it's something they've had to kind of like dance around. And a lot of the times he's just ignored and held at arm's distance. The prophecy episodes that we've had, would we say the one with the wormhole subspace relay was called
Destiny?
Destiny is the first time he really was willing to kind of look at prophecy and say, is there some sort of a guidance here? And that's where Kira plays, the common sense banger of like, I'm calling them gods, you're calling them aliens. We both acknowledge that they exist outside of linear time. Why is it unreasonable to believe that communications that they have sent out intended for right now could have been sent out centuries ago? That this doesn't have to be supernatural gods. This is just very alien stuff for you. That's the way we'll phrase it. And he's like, oh, okay, well, let's try to decipher what a real message here could have been, absent centuries of misinterpretations, translations, and fuckery.
It was a really important moment for him to accept this shit is happening to me, and it may go beyond my capacity to understand. I have only one complaint, I think, with this episode, and is that they bring in a different elderly Vedic when they already had established that character in Destiny. Remember Yarka, the guy that Eric Avari played? And we really liked him. It was like perfect. That guy should have been this. That should have been. He should have come back in this episode and keep that story the same. Have him do the shit that he does, right? Like have that level of complexity into the story. It just shouldn't have been a different dude like that.
I get it. Scheduling and
it's probably hard to get him, because he's a real guy, But
and that's a concern you have to have when you're doing TV is if your dude is too popular, getting him back in can be a hassle. And I think that's a real benefit maybe to using no names and building them up. So Sisko, the reluctant emissary, now has a very plausible, very appropriate, very well respected. I love the fact that like they bring him in. Was he on a wooden sailing ship? Was he in a Faster Than Lumber?
Yeah, he was in a Faster Than Lumber.
Fucking ridiculous, stupid.
Well, I mean, the parallel's perfect though, right? Like, Sisko built one and proved it worked, and like the symmetry here is amazing. Again, like a writer coming into this and being able to like tie all this together in a way that just feels so integrated. Amazing work on her part. But
so Kira's sitting down talking to this guy, like they're in sick bay. He's recounting his tale. Like I was pulled into the space butthole. They healed my arm where a piece of wood had impaled me, because I have a wooden spaceship, and they've held me and they've deposited me here. It has to be for that. What year is it? It's 250 years into the future. Everybody I know is dead, which is rough. I mean, that's always a hard story when you're coming out of cryosleep or whatever. What's your name? Maybe we can find your family. Oh my gosh, you are this crazy famous poet.
You're Bajoran Walt Whitman. Holy shit.
Like, more famous than Walt Whitman. Like, you are, everybody knows your shit by heart. If there's anybody who could possibly come forward from the future that is going to have the celebrity value, you're, I think, more akin to like Norman Rockwell, maybe.
Somebody who's very culturally important. And like Sisko's story in this is superb. He doesn't want to be the emissary. He's just been handed every reason to give it up. And he does so. He does not attempt to fight to keep being the emissary. he sees this as an opportunity to finally be done with a responsibility that he never wanted to discharge because he doesn't feel comfortable with the idea of being a religious figure. He has this great speech with, like, I think with Dax in his office about how, like, no, I'm just going to be a Starfleet captain and I only have to worry about the Klingons and the Dominion and the Maquis. I feel like I'm on vacation. Like, I got plenty to do. I don't need to be Jesus as well. Like, that's a little too much for my plate. And this guy seems way better suited to the task of being a religious figure for the Bajorans than I ever would be, because I don't, I'm not native to this place. I don't understand the religion like a true believer would.
Also, they don't call it out, but like, I did my time. I got Bajor through a couple big hurdles as the emissary. And my time here is done. I feel like
it could be that I'm supposed to give it up. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm shirking my duties. It's like, this seems like this is supposed to be what happens.
Maybe this guy couldn't have gotten him through the military conflict portions, and I did. And hey, if Kai can be passed from hand to hand, then why can't emissary? And now it's a more peaceful and a spiritual guidance point, and this guy can do a better job. So they pulled him out of the closet here. Whatever. Listen, this is a great time for me to get off of this ride and feel okay about it.
The story is very clearly trying to, I don't think it's a big shock at the end to the viewer that, like, all of this was set up by the prophets specifically to teach Sisko a lesson about, like, you actually are the chosen one, you motherfucker. Like, don't be acting like this isn't supposed to be something you were doing. And then even teases it's deeper than he even realizes.
Mm-hmm.
But I like that it's a completely plausible thing for him to give this up and to who he gives it up to. And then the consequences of that are incredible. The fact that Sisko never understood that if he told the Bajoran people to jump, they would go to the ceiling and wait to ask to come down is never occurred to him. And Kira has to be the one to tell him, like, I don't think you understand what it meant to be who you are. Like, you could have told us to do whatever you thought of and we would have done everything in our power to do it. Like, you are the representative of our gods in the real world.
Do you think that this TV show gave us as the audience that impression prior, or do you think that we can look at Ben Sisko and say, well, that was stupid of you?
I think that this is a very understandable revelation to occur now. We have seen plenty from Kira explaining you're the emissary of the prophets. What you say matters. Like, the whole episode where he's having his concussion and, like, I have difficulty being near you because of what you are, like, and being close to you because you're Jesus. You're like the representative of my gods on earth. So, like, this is hard for me, such that when she says this, it feels like, I don't think it would have occurred to Sisko. Sisko's an enlightened member of the Federation. It never would have occurred to him to abuse these powers in such a way to make the Bajorans do something on the basis of him being a religious figure. Like, that's why he's a hero. It's why he's the Federation ideal. So the fact that Kira has to just straight up tell him, like, no, actually, you could have made us do dumb shit like this too. Like, and he's like, oh, shit. I didn't know that this position was that powerful, because he never conceived of it as something he wanted to use for power.
I do not think that the show ever gave us as the audience reasons to believe that he had that degree of power and authority. So him hitting that revelation, I think, is well placed and fair to the audience.
Yeah. And it, like, also respects all of his interactions with Kai Wynn, because Kai Wynn,
and that's what I want to get to, is that this shapes a lot of her actions a lot better in retrospect. And what I love is that now that he sees the level of authority and power that he has, by the end of the episode, when he has regained the mantle of emissary, the added difficulty that is going to give him and his mission, knowing that he could cheat and say, it is the prophet's will that we join the Federation, knock all this bullshit off. Also, yep. I condemn Kai Wynn. She's a piece of trash. Get rid of her.
Yep.
Like, now the need for an ethical administration, both as a station commander and most visible Federation diplomat, and someone who could absolutely just, like, he's got the power of the Q over these people. It's like that Riker episode, like, this has to be a real application into the Federation. I can't just swish and flick my wrist and will it.
Nailed it, right? Like, you've nailed it. Kai Wynn always had to treat him with trepidation because she knew the
Yes.
power that he could wield, even if he didn't. And like, why else would the Pope of Bajor basically have to be deferential to him, right? If it wasn't that he essentially outranked her. And because he's the Sisko, he's the person that has to be there to wield the power, because the prophets have determined, because they're non-linear, he's the only person with the ability to do so and not abuse it. That's why he's been chosen. He's been chosen because it never would have occurred to him to make the Bajorans do that. And he regains the mantle explicitly to ensure that somebody else doesn't do that, even if they're well-meaning, like this guy is. Corin Lan is never portrayed as somebody who does not genuinely believe what he believes is the correct thing to do. He's not a villain, but he's wrong for reasons that he is incapable of understanding. And Sisko is so drawn to the fact that, like, even in your hands, which is attempting to do something that you think is right, that power is still being ill used because the circumstances are so vastly changed from when you were around. You cannot like hard reboot the Bajorans into what they were 200 years ago. And I have to make it so that I have that power because it's actually the only way forward for them to not have this level of interference. It speaks to why he was selected. And further, like, that he has to start to accept that he has a role that is here that is not happenstance, right? This is not, I happened to find and you selected me. He said, like, when Kaiopaka shows up at the end, the vision of Kaiopaka, which pays off again, another episode from like what, season 1,
Yep.
where he says, like, we're going to cross paths again, and to say, like, you are of Bajor, and it's like she does not explain that, right? Like, what the fuck do you mean by that, right? A very specific choice at the end to say, like, maybe there's even more to this than you don't fucking understand yet. All right, peace. Like, because he's saying, I'm looking for answers about all this. I'm like, yeah, you're of Bajor. I'll leave you with that.
Instantly, hey, there's a new emissary. Kai wins in this guy's ear. Great. This is my chance to dispel my greatest threat to my power, which is Sisko and the Federation, which will completely invalidate the power of the church over the next decade.
Yeah.
Hey, here we go. Let's touch base. Oh, you brought up the Dajaris thing. Well, that'll get us back into a caste-based system that'll sabotage the Federation application process. This is a way for me to just clean sweep everything that opposes me right now. Like, what a powerful gift to be placed in her hands. Of course, she's going to push this.
I get rid of Shakar as a leader. I get rid of Sisko as a leader. I get to have supreme power by essentially, because I'm already a fundamentalist. This is perfect
gift
for
from
me.
The prophets. Perfect. Yeah. We were gonna that is absolute. Who cares the civil unrest and hell this is going to cause for the rank and file? This is perfect for me. This guy getting set on this path, you absolutely should do this. And it's going to be hard, but that is why you've been put here by the prophets, because you are the emissary. Just right in her wheelhouse of fuckery. So, no, this guy is not a bad guy, but he's got a bad guy pulling his strings. And again, that's another reason he's got to go. He does not understand the threat that she is to the good of Bajor. So there is short-term pain and suffering in terms of people's lives being uprooted as they're forced back into a caste-based system. There is death and suffering that is going to come as these abandoned practices of sanctions and apparently executions for people disrespecting it. And there's the long-term hurt of losing access to the Federation when you're on the precipice of nonsense with the Klingons and Cardassians and Dominion and whatever else comes through that butthole in space, and the maleficence of Kai Wynn. Like, and even against the backdrop of all of that, Sisko also has the I'm going to watch in real time as a close personal friend is harmed by my inaction. Kira Nerys is not going to do well in this new Bajor at all. And that is, I can see the big picture, and I'm being pressed in my eyeballs what happens at a personal level.
I mean, and obviously there's quite a visceral reminder of that too when someone takes it too far, right? And somebody who's a priest who's from the unclean caste won't resign, and so they're killed by the elderly Vedic with a smile on his face and a song in his heart, which is like, okay, well, this clearly can't stand. This is a moral problem now. Like, this is not something Bajor can return to because they've spent decades. There's a whole two generations of people who have grown up in a circumstance where this is not, you know, the organizing principle of their society. They're used to being able to pursue that which it is that they believe that they should be pursuing based on aptitude or fervor or personal belief. And to force march people into essentially servitude as a lesser caste, and that they would be killed otherwise, is just like such a moral hazard that it actually gets Sisko to be like, I'm just gonna have to interfere with this culture. Fuck it. Like, it's actually just correct at this point for me to do that from the Starfleet perspective. Let's finish up the B plot. It's simple. When we've kind of talked a little bit about it, like, O'Brien's kind of lamenting hanging out with Bashir. He's trying to be present. He's hanging out with Molly, spending time with his wife. His wife is very affectionate towards him. There's no problems. But he's just like, he's missing that sort of freedom that came with having, a hetero life mate, and fucking around a little bit and having some fun and having a life outside of being a family man and a Starfleet officer. And he goes to the bar, and Julian's trying to like make do with not being able to hang out with him, and he is, and having beers, and they gotta decline their Holly Suite appointment. And I think like it wraps up in just the nicest little way, which is Keiko sees what's going on. Keiko's got that wife's intuition and manipulates both Julian and Miles in such a way that they feel good about spending time with each other. And Keiko is the one doing it, so it's not like she doesn't want it to happen. Keiko is great. Like, Keiko hate, I think, is just based on the idea that she's assertive. I don't know, like, she gives that sort of dragon lady sort of element to her sometimes because of her assertiveness. But she's actually a very warm, loving figure, essentially all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I've not one episode when she's been on this show where I'm not like, she's actually a really great wife and mother who cares about the people around her. Like, she's not terrible. She's not mean. She's good. She's a good character.
Keiko being assertive again. She is a galaxy class, and I mean that both in terms of
scientist.
The level of intellect that this woman has is prominent, a known quantity within the galaxy, and she was selected to be the botanist for a galaxy class starship, the Enterprise, the flagship. Like, this lady is a big fucking deal, and she married a janitor. Like, this is absolutely somebody who should be very active in the direction that the family goes professionally and familially.
She's Professor O'Brien. She has a PhD. Like,
this isn't, hey, honey, you're stay at home. Not that I'm shitting on stay at home anything, but like, you are a powerhouse in your own regard. Like, this is a mutual navigation through what's going to happen with our family, as I have dragged you out to the deep sheets 9 on the verge of war. It's all great. She sees he's not adjusting well, and she is like, hey, this doesn't have to be bad. I want what's best for everybody here, and we're going to make this work. Mommy's got to do her galaxy class research over here. Go get that nasty flea-ridden cape over there and go fight the Romans or whatever the fuck is going on with you and Julie in that holosuite.
I don't need to know. It seems like some real guy shit.
All I know is if I see any more grease in this carpeting, you and I are going to tangle. Molly's kind of a little rat, though, like not letting him color. I don't know what kind of kid gets like that, but like getting that little brother on the way is absolutely necessary. Molly cannot be an only child. This is not going well right now.
Yeah, definitely need to do that. Definitely need to get the second child in there. I completely agree. Okay,
that's all great. Someone dies.
We get Worf to show up for one scene for probably the best comic beat in the entire episode of Worf coming into Quark's bar just as discussing that Keiko's pregnant, and he just has PTSD flashbacks in front of everybody.
It's great. Disaster. Very powerful episode. Having to deliver the child. Very powerful. Sisko, by the end of this, they go to the prophets in a runabout. Hey, I challenge your authority now. We're going to go off and you're not going to return. And I'm going to tell everybody that you were actually sent back in time to your family. And I'm going to be in charge again. I'm going to undo all this. And Kai Wynn's not like, holy shit, Sisko just killed this fucking guy. A couple of very interesting things from the end. This poet was brought out of cryostasis for a reason right now. And it was for Benjamin Sisko to realize that he needs to be, that he wants to be the emissary. This is part of his journey. This guy is put there as, I don't want to say a dark mirror, but an example of what happens if it is not you for the reasons that we have picked you. And how does this look and how do you feel about that? And by the end of the episode, we have a Benjamin Sisko who is not only willing to indulge the idea that he is the emissary, but wants to be the emissary, needs to be the emissary. This is a guy that has to yet again realize to himself that he truly cares about Bajor and the Bajoran people and Bajor's future. Who understands the authority that really comes with this position and the necessity that it is in his hands being wielded justly.
And I think like him just saying, we're going to settle this in front of the prophets. Perfect. Right. Like, and it speaks to the fact that Okorum is not a bad guy, that he's like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, that's clearly how we should settle this. Like, if you think you should be the emissary and I think I should be the emissary, we should go talk to the people we're supposed to be the emissary for.
Let me tell you what this episode doesn't do, though, which is interesting. Because as you just said that, like, I realized that is Sisko putting his faith in the prophets.
Correct.
Right? That's him turning to the authority, to a higher authority.
It's him taking a journey of faith, which is what he is slowly doing, right? Like,
it was not him saying, this seems goofy. What if this is Kai Wynn trying to manipulate us? Run tests on this guy. Make sure he is as old as he is. Look for a alien interference plot or any of the other Star Trek things where it's like, this guy, you know, a lot of times a TNG episode would finish us off with like, oh, this guy was a Manchurian candidate that never knew, and he was propped in here, and this was some sort of fucking conspiracy by the Cardassians or the Klingons or a Dominion shapeshifter that just wanted to disrupt their hold. Like, it could have been a million other things, and instead this is I don't want to say wholesome, but this is a holy religious.
Yeah. It's a nice natural progression, right? Like if Destiny is the first time Sisko has to treat seriously and respect that he is involved with something larger than himself, this is the first time he actually puts enough faith into that idea that he just submits himself to the will of the prophets, right? Like, he just says, I think that I should be the emissary. I think that you shouldn't be. I feel like there's something here I didn't understand before that I understand now. And there's only one way to settle this. And let's just go. Right. And the will of the prophets will be done. They will reveal themselves to us, and they will guide us in the fashion in which we're supposed to be. And he's correct. And they do. They're very clear about what happened, which is, we did this because first of all, we're non-linear. So first means nothing, which is just like a great reminder of the lesson we learned in Destiny, of the idea that he found us first is not true. We went back in time. We don't understand that's what we did, to find somebody to teach you about what it is that you are and the destructive power that could be wielded by another person, because you're the Sisko. You are destined to do this. And brilliant way of using the nonlinear element in a way that conveys exactly how powerful the prophets actually are, and yet are learning from Sisko, right? Of like trying, like, understanding what the past means, and if it's in the past for the people of Bajor, that means it cannot be, and the way it's conveyed ultimately to Okorum when he finally says, okay, well, I was wrong. He gives like, I'm not going to fight this. You're clearly, I was here to teach a lesson to the emissary, and I should have just be
That's pretty
dead.
fucking cool too.
Yeah, like I will jump on my sword. Like you want to send me back and die, that's fine. Like that's what should happen because
Just let me die.
he's faithful. Like he's not a bad guy. Like, and it's Sisko has to step in and say like, well, couldn't you just send him back whole? And they're like, yeah, I guess we could.
I don't like religious episodes, but
Yeah,
so much of Deep Space Nine and the Bajoran is like that is the thing for the Bajorans. It's not that they're aliens; it's that they're religious. The religion is handled well. What I like about these stories is the intersection between the technocrat atheism of the Federation and this Bajoran spiritualism and the character journeys that we see for Sisko, that we see for Kira, and these other people as they navigate these this dichotomy between the two.
The last scene to me is amazing for two reasons. First, it's Sisko shows that he's more comfortable with being the emissary, and like Kira notices, right? Like when someone says like my girl's going to have a bat mitzvah, and I would like you to give her a blessing because he's reaching the Bajoran age of majority, which is shockingly, young as we've established in the past, very problematic. And he's like much more like, yeah, sure, no, I will absolutely do that. Because he understands obviously the weight of the position, but we also find out like when the prophets fuck with time, it's much more naturalistic and not jarring, which says something about them too, because no one like time has not changed as a consequence of a quorum going back and surviving. Like, there's not like a butterfly effect thing where things are wildly different. But like when suddenly when Kira goes to read the poem that was unfinished, it's like, actually it's finished. And it's like, yeah, apparently they have a very gentle hand when it comes to the timeline where it all gently integrates rather than like some sort of jarring thing is broken. And it's like the prophets having that kind of power is like, well, like when the Federation manipulates time, they can't manage these kinds of outcomes. When the Borg manipulate time, they can't manage these kinds of outcomes. But
the
apparently,
Krenim can't do it either.
But apparently, the fucking prophets can do it, and it's not hard.
It's because it's a magic time manipulation. Effectively,
yeah,
you can hand wave a lot of the questions about why time travel is stupid. The guy goes back in time. He doesn't get to remember anything that happened here. So he can't alter the events of the future and say, by the way, the Cardassians are coming. We need to militarize right now. So he can't change anything. But everybody in the current doesn't have their memory change as a result and can look back on it. So that's the first time I think we've ever seen a time travel event like this. And again, because it's magic, you can just go, that's how it is. That's fine.
He literally says the prophets work in mysterious ways.
Everybody can learn from the lesson.
That's the most overt religious thing Sisko's ever said.
The one guy that got shoved over the ledge is still dead. That other, the local chaplain or whatever is going to the pokey for murder, probably. So I'm sure he's not too thrilled with the prophets and their decisions here. Although he had to play a role in this too. Would Sisko have finally put his foot down and say, I want to be the emissary had that guy not died?
Probably not. If the visceral consequences had not been made plain to him, it would not have occurred. All is the will of the prophets.
So them keeping the timeline in place, I thought was very important, very good. So, there's a lot of big stuff going on in the backgrounds. This is an episode that drops in perfectly as yet another concern. But at the same time, this is a further fortification of Deep Space Nine as the war looms on the horizon. This is doubt being erased from Sisko. This is resolve being put in his pocket. This is new power being put in the good guys' hands to wield against enemies. And I'm sure at some point there's going to be a big ask out of Sisko as the emissary. And we're going to be able to say, absolutely, people would do this because this, we see here the power that this guy has. It's going to be more animosity for Kai win to carry towards this guy because, again, she had victory in her grasp and he just fucking erased the competition and sent it back in time. That's also, I guess, a good example of like, no, I didn't kill him. He did go back in time. Go check all these poems you never thought were done.
Like,
I'm such a good emissary. I just got you guys free end content DLC off this old movie trilogy you all loved.
Yeah.
Poet, whatever.
Good point. It's you know, like, they do the right amount of this stuff too. I was reading the Memory Alpha, and apparently the studio is very resistant to Bajoran religious episodes because they didn't hit well with the audience the same way. They weren't ratings winners. And so that's why they don't often, like, this is like a once or twice a season thing. But I think that's the right amount of it to do. Because if it was everything, we saw what happens when Ron Moore does it all the time. It's called Battlestar Galactica, and it gets fucking obnoxious. Like,
yes,
just do enough to show me the journey. And I think they find a brilliant line, and it remains a very powerful and very present part of the story all the way to the very final episode without ever overwhelming what's happening. So,
I think I would call this a great episode.
I would too. It's a great episode.
It's not Way of the Warrior, but like, this is just something that fits in like such a perfect puzzle piece to the story and the characters.
It's an episode you have to watch, and it's good, and I would change almost nothing about it. What else is there to say?
It's a perfect B plot with what's going on with these, like, it's
a nice lighthearted B plot with continuity to the story. Yeah, this is good.
Coming in next is going to be Rules of Engagement. Am I allowed to read stuff on this?
Yes.
Season 4, episode 18. This is going to be a story by Bradley Thompson and David Wendell, teleplay by Ronald D. Moore. This is going to be a LeVar Burton. When the Klingons try to extradite Worf after he accidentally I was gonna make a joke like, oh, I see Worf is in the picture here. Who is Worf killing this episode? Well, here it is. After Worf accidentally destroys a transport full of Klingons. Oh no, Worf, son of Moog, what have you done?
So this is probably LeVar Burton's best Deep Space Nine episode, I think. I want to say. Gonna take a look here, looking up all those directorial.
How fun for LeVar to be able
credits.
to go and direct his old friend Michael Dorn. I mean,
yeah, he did. Let's see, Indiscretion, that was really good. So maybe not. Bar Association, that was really good. Rules of Engagement is good, and he's got bangers to come too. I don't think any of them are better than this, though. I think my comment holds up. I think this might be his best Deep Space Nine episode, but it's beating Indiscretion by a little bit.
Did Worf add to this episode of Ascension? Yes.
He did. He was in one shot of one scene, and it was perfect. It was the actual PTSD he has about, like, when is she giving birth? 7 months from now, I'll be on Earth visiting my parents. I won't be here.
I will be visiting everybody I know on Earth, my parents, and that is to say I forget that I have a son named Alexander. That's how anti-parenting and children-related I am, is I am PTSD. I'm not even PTSD. I just never remember this fucking kid.
All right. We'll see you next week, everybody.